Dan, just talk to me. You said at the top of the show you don't want to have that sort of that loser's mentality of, oh yeah, well, it was great while it lasted. Sort of, how are you feeling about it? Are you just quite happy to say, yeah, we've enjoyed the ride and we're hungry for more, or are you more just thinking about moving on, trying to get qualification for it next season?
There's a few things there. I think getting knocked out by PSG won't define Villa's season. The Champions League has been excellent. They've won every single game at Villa Park. The atmosphere every single time was unbelievable. Scenes that a few years ago I could only have dreamed of. So to have experienced that is brilliant. I don't want to be that plucky loser, someone that celebrates defeat. But saying that, I do also think that if you're going to get knocked out, there's a way of getting knocked out. And Villa were 5-1 down. They were dead and buried. I was sat there at half-time thinking, PSG could score a few more here. This could be a problem. But instead, Emery tweaked some things. Second half, they came out, got really at one of the best teams in Europe at the moment and gave them a huge, huge scare. Now, look, I know you don't win medals or trophies for giving teams a scare, but it was just it was a wonderful performance, and we won the game and came so close. My tinge of disappointment, and it is only a tinge because generally I'm just really, really proud to be a Villa fan, proud of Unai Emery and proud of the players, is that we got ourselves back to 5-4 in the aggregate scoreline, and there was a long way to go. And for 5-10 minutes after we got back to that, we missed a few chances, and then the tie kind of fizzled a bit. PSG kind of sat in, looked after the ball, did the dark arts, and obviously they did enough to get through over the two legs, and well done to them. You know, whoever wins the Champions League will do well to beat them because they're a sensational outfit. When they get going forward, they're frightening. I've never seen anything like it in the flesh. Genuinely the best team I've seen my team play in my life. But Villa have got so much to play for still, and the good thing is that they've sampled that now. They had Tuesday night where they went so close. They've got to use that as fuel now and motivation for the rest of the season, because there's still a chance of winning a trophy. And also, you want to finish top 5 and make sure you do that again next season, because anything after having a season in the Champions League is a step down. As fun as it would still be to be in the Europa League or the Conference League, and, you know, I'm not one of those fans that's going to belittle those tournaments if Villa are in them. Now I've had a taste of it, I want it again.
I don't mean this in a disparaging way whatsoever, because it's undeniable how impressive your season's been, your run's been, your years under Unai Emery. As a Forest fan, I look at Villa as sort of an archetype to follow, you know, and want to be following in those footsteps. But do you think there's an element of which against PSG, quarterfinals of the Champions League right now, you found your level a little bit?
I think I disagree with that. Remember, Villa beat Bayern Munich at the start of the Champions League as well, who are obviously an elite club that's in the Champions League every single season and wins the Bundesliga pretty much every single season, with the exception of last time out. So I think Villa have proved themselves against Europe's elite. I think if you look at one-off games in the Premier League as well, Villa have beaten Arsenal at the Emirates. They've beaten Arsenal at home. They beat Man City the season after they won the treble, the season they won the league. You know, when they were at their best, we played them at Villa Park, beat them 1-0 and absolutely battered them that night. And even Pep came out afterwards and said that's the best anyone's ever played against us. So I think Villa have proven themselves in those big games and shown that they kind of belong in Europe's elite. And
I don't mean that you don't belong in the Champions League. What I mean is at that point in the tournament, and I guess sort of the follow-up being, you've got to the quarterfinal of the Champions League, and I certainly think Villa belong there. The size of the club, I'm from the Midlands. I don't sort of, you know, I don't have that London mentality of anything like that. But the sort of follow-on being, what do you need to bring into the club to be able to take it to the next level, which is semi-finals and finals, and that is the top table of, you know, in my opinion, domestic world football?
I think it's about continuous improvement, isn't it? Villa, in Unai Emery's first kind of 2/3 of a season, went from 17th and qualified for Europe, finished 7th, got themselves in the Europa Conference League. Then the season after, finished 4th and got to a semi-final of the Europa Conference League. This season, I think they'd look back on their summer window and probably be a little bit disappointed with it, and they had to do a lot in January to get the squad right. But all you can ask of your club is that they give themselves a chance and put themselves in the best place. And Villa proved that actually in January you can kind of reshape a squad a bit and make yourselves better off and give yourself a fighting chance going into the tail end of a season. And Villa's squad now is up there with anyone's in terms of depth. Villa can pick two teams and that they wouldn't be weakened if either team went out there. So they're in a really, really good place. I think this is a big summer. PSR will probably pose a problem again, even if we qualify for the Champions League, where someone who they don't want to lose may have to be sold. But Villa have shown they sold Douglas Luiz, but they've almost got contingency plans within the squad already. Yuri Tillemans was already there. He's been Villa's best player this season. I don't think many people outside of Villa would have called Morgan Rogers to do what he's done. This season, he's become a really important player and never misses a game under Emery. Emery picks him every time. So I've enough faith in what's going on at Villa that whatever happens in the summer, they'll build in the right way now, because I think they've got the numbers there now to compete on multiple fronts. And the way I feel about it is that continuous improvement is there. We've got the best manager a club of our size could possibly have to fight in these tournaments. And I think genuinely in the next few years, Villa will win something, and I think at some point they'll challenge for a title. I'm not saying they'll win the Premier League, but I think they'll win something, and I think they'll challenge for the title in the next few years because the manager is that good.
Yeah. I want to talk about Marcus Rashford, Dan, because I'm fascinated by how Marcus Rashford just divides opinion wherever he is. I remember after the first leg, Dean Saunders was on the sports bar saying that he wasn't running enough, he wasn't pressing enough. Jason Cundy was on the complete other side of it saying you didn't play in a way that meant Rashford should be running off on his own, wasting energy trying to chase somebody down when you're playing in a low block. In the second half, he came alive, was magnificent. Andy Townsend actually was on before the second leg saying that he wanted Watkins to start, but Emery seems to have decided that at the minute Rashford's ahead of him. Where do you rank sort of, or how do you rate Rashford so far at Villa, and is his best position up top? And do you feel a little bit for Ollie Watkins?
I massively feel for Ollie because he's been a brilliant player for Villa, and he's been a brilliant player for Emery since he arrived at the club. His goals and assist output since Emery came in are up there with anyone in the league. So I do feel really sorry for Ollie Watkins, especially when he's so close to breaking the Premier League record as well. Just needs 2 more goals. I hope and pray that he gets that before the end of the season because he really, really deserves it. I also feel sorry for Rashford because I think he lives his football career under a microscope where every little thing he does, both on and off the pitch, is just seen by everyone. Everyone's watching him and everyone's judging him all the time. I thought he was fine in the first half. I thought he did work hard. Villa just didn't have that much of the ball in the first half. And in the second half, when they did, he was at the forefront of that and took the game by the scruff of the neck. And for all the attacking talent that was on show for PSG, I mean, I thought Marcus Rashford and John McGinn were the 2 best players on the pitch in the second half, and that they really scared the Parisians. So I've got an element of feeling sorry for Marcus Rashford. I have a theory that I think in the summer, I've said Villa will have to sell someone for big money. This may be their last opportunity to sell Ollie Watkins for a big fee. Obviously, one of the best strikers in Europe on his day. I wouldn't want him to go, but I think they may part ways. Obviously, he's out of the team at the moment. I don't think he's too happy with that. I can see a world where Watkins goes. Villa have got this fee arranged, if we want to, of 40 million for Marcus Rashford, and it would depend whether Marcus Rashford wanted to join Villa as well. My theory is that I think Unai Emery looks at Marcus Rashford, who's 27, thinks that's the age I started working with Ollie Watkins, and I got Ollie Watkins to a really high level where he became one of the best strikers in Europe. He followed my instructions, he did what I needed him to do, and he scored a bucket load of goals and got a bucket load of assists. I think he'll think that Rashford's ceiling is higher than Watkins and that he's got more natural ability. As I say, I'm not trying to be disparaging towards Ollie Watkins here at all because I absolutely adore the man. But I just think this is how Emery will look at it, that he can get Rashford to a higher level as a centre-forward than what he's got Ollie Watkins to. And with the PSR landscape, I've just got a feeling that might be how it works in the summer. But much will depend on Rashford, his camp, what they think they can get, whether they think there could be a bigger move on the horizon. If Villa get Champions League football, and I look at what Rashford's done so far for Villa and what Emery's done for every single player at the football club, I just do think he'd be silly to turn it down.
It's fascinating to hear, and I think regardless of what people's listening, people watching, regardless of what their opinion is of Marcus Rashford, I think they'd certainly agree that the ceiling he's got is massive, and maybe that's why he elicits so much emotion from people who don't have anything to do with United, don't have anything to do with Villa. It's because they know he can be so good, and he hasn't been showing it. But we are beginning to see that at Villa under Unai Emery, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of excitement for that moving forward.
Yeah, and Emery's got this knack of getting a little bit of extra out of players. John McGinn was on the floor when Emery arrived at Villa. He was really struggling under Steven Gerrard, lost his place in the team. he was Villa's best player across 2 legs, longest serving player. The improvement is there for everyone to see. I think Emery has also got a knack of taking maybe high-level footballers that have lost their way a bit and getting something extra out of them that no one's ever been able to get out of them before. He did it at Villarreal. He's done it at Sevilla. I just think he'll look at Rashford as a project player that he can work with. And I know from speaking to people around Villa that Emery loves working with people that he considers could be world class. And I believe that he thinks Ollie Watkins could potentially be world class under him at Aston Villa. So it's going to be a really interesting summer, but we'll talk about Rashford loads, won't we? Because that's just what seems to happen with him.
Exactly. As you say, we'll be talking about Rashford for many months to come. Fascinating to see where he ends up.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.